Hey guys, so excuse me. So I got home from my part-time gig Sunday night, and wanted to get caught up on the news. So it's about midnight, and I seen the video with Will Smith smacking Chris Rock. Got up that next morning, was ready to make a video about it. I got to work and had a helper with me, a new guy. They wanted to ride along with me for a couple days. So I have not been able to make a video all week. So I heard a really wise guy a long time ago said, don't react to a story you hear right away. Wait till all the facts come in, because things can change. So I was like, okay, well, maybe, it worked out for the best. I had to wait a few days to make this video. But my gut reaction hasn't changed. What I was going to say then hasn't changed a bit. So I watched this thing, and the first thing I thought was, man, if that was me, security would have tackled me, roughed me up, put me in handcuffs, and I'd be sitting in jail. And I know this as a fact. I have a good friend, a really good man, good character, good family man, owned the business, and he had like a coffee shop, and the owner was a dentist right next door, and raised his rent. They had a handshake, they had a mutual agreement, and he's an old school guy from Chicago. Your word is your bond. And they shook on the agreements. And then this guy randomly tripled his rent just like that, and got rude with his wife and made his wife cry. So my friend went next door and basically threatened the guy, did not lay a hand on him. He got arrested, roughed up, and spent 6 days in jail, and was convicted of a disorderly conduct charge that's on his record. I mean, this is the real world. I have a friend, his kid got in a fight in high school, spent the weekend in juvenile detention, and he has a juvenile record now just for a fist fight over something stupid. This is the real world, but these Hollywood elitists don't live in the real world. I mean, it is just absurd that the soft-skinned elites, these prima donnas, get offended, and they can go up and assault somebody in front of the whole world. Not only do they not get arrested, but they can sit down and watch the show like nothing happened. Don't get ejected. You would think the Academy Awards people would at least say, yeah, you got to leave, No, of course not. He actually gets an award. He gets an Oscar. Then he goes to an after party, and they said he got a standing ovation when he went to this after party. He's a hero. So, a couple thoughts. So, Will Smith, big dude, you see him in some of his movies, you can tell he works out. He's probably got 60 pounds. And Chris Rock is a small, skinny guy. But Chris Rock was more of a man that night. He took that shot, and he kept his composure. Imagine if he would have tackled in a fight, the spectator, two black guys fighting on national TV. If I was black, I would be more proud of Chris Rock. In fact, I have a black friend who said, yeah, he's ashamed. What Will Smith did was just play into the stereotype that racists have, that black men, can't control their rage and their emotions. He said, but Chris Rock showed that black men can. That's coming from a black friend of mine who watched this, and he's outraged at Will Smith's stupidity and immaturity. So Chris Rock takes it like a man, and the show goes on. He kept his composure, and I didn't watch the show. I never watched these stupid shows, but apparently he kept the jokes coming all night. And had a few thoughts, like, what if Chris Rock was a woman who said that joke and Will Smith's hit her? Would it have been acceptable? I mean, these leftists say, it doesn't matter. Women and men, we're equal. There's no difference, There's a Supreme Court nominee said she can't even define what a woman is. So what would have happened? Or what if it was a man who identified as a woman, or a woman who identified as a man? Think about these things. Or what if it was a white guy? What if Bradley Cooper went up and slapped him? The leftists are so illogical. They are so illogical. But this doesn't surprise me, because they've been canceling political speech. I mean, they cancel everyone they disagree with politically, and most people know that. But a lot of people don't realize is They commit violence and they feel justified committing violence. You know, I seen 4 years ago, a professor from like Stanford or something. I can't remember his name, but you can Google it, Antifa professor on Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson asked them, is it justified if someone is given a speech that you disagree with to punch them? Because I've seen you guys, he had a film of this guy going up and punching a guy. And he's like, yeah, that's justified because what they're saying is hateful and dangerous. So the left, 90% of these radical people, these Democrats, the left-wingers in our country, feel justified to commit violence on people they disagree with politically. So it's not a stretch to say, okay, well, if it's a personal attack, I can commit violence. I mean, this is where they're at now. This is where the left is at. They will cancel you with their big tech liberal buddies, and they will cancel you with violence if they feel they need to. And they live in a different world because, like I said, me or you would be in jail still today. Our lives would be ruined. Will Smith is worth $350 million. This didn't affect him at all. This is not going to affect him at all. And then I read all this stuff, people trying to justify, well, he's emotional. He's got all kinds of emotional. Dude, man up. Come on. Like, this is ridiculous to me because you got emotional issues. Oh, his wife, you know, she loses her hair because she got alopecia. His wife is worth $50 million. He's worth $350 million. Get a freaking wig. I mean, come on. There's freaking kids starving to death. You think I'm going to feel sorry for you? Come on. This is ridiculous. This is the most ridiculous thing. Well, Rob, you know, you're a manly man. What if someone insulted your wife? These things happen in life, you know? I haven't been in a bar in years, but if I was in a bar and someone insulted my wife, I would say, buddy, you owe my wife an apology. Simple as that. I'm going to go up and just slap him. And if he gave me lip, then I would say, okay, we need to take this outside. Just me and you. We don't need a crowd. We don't need witnesses. Just man to man. You know? So maybe Will Smith should have did it back, you know, flipped it and said, hey, keep my wife's name out of your mouth, you know, before he hit him instead of after. Like, hey, I'm letting you know, don't do this. But even that would be ridiculous and immature because Chris Rock did nothing wrong. Chris Rock was hired to do comedy and the roast actors. They've been doing this for years. This is nothing. That joke was nothing. That joke was not offensive at all. You want to see offensive jokes, look at the old-time actors. Look at the Dean Martin roast. See how they roast Ronald Reagan. See how they roasted all those old-timers. And those guys laughed. This new generation of Hollywood elites, they're just so freaking out of touch. And it's rules for thee and not for me. And it was on full display because it took place in L.A., and in LA today, kindergarten kids that have no chance of getting COVID, or if they do, they'll have no symptoms, have to wear masks 8 hours a day. But these Hollywood elites didn't have to wear masks. You know, rules for thee, not for me. You see it in LA. You know, LA, they shut down the schools maybe 2 years. I know it was over a year. The liberal Democrat union president of the teachers union fought to keep the schools shut. And he was caught early on the pandemic taking his kid to a private school. His kid didn't miss a beat. Gavin Newsom, the governor's kid, didn't miss a beat of school. And if you fact check this, the liberal snoops, fact checkers, will say that's false. They missed, but if you read the whole article, he missed like a month of school. They shut down. Rules for thee, not for me. You remember Nancy Pelosi shut down, put out so many businesses because, you know, little beauty parlors couldn't open up. And we caught her getting her hair done with no mask and the hairdresser not wearing a mask. Rules for thee, not for me. This is why people got fed up with the elite. When I say the elite, I'm talking about the Hollywood elite and Washington, D.C. elite and the media elite. It's all one cabal. This is why we got so fed up that Donald Trump won the last 2 elections and he's going to win the next one. Because we're sick and tired of this crap. And then you have, speaking of Donald Trump, you have Howard Stern. I call Howard Stern Coward Stern. I mean, I've listened to him since I was a kid. You know, WNBC, out of New York City, we used to get in Jersey. And he was funny, but we knew he was a coward. He would talk about what a wimp he was. He was afraid of everything. He was going to a therapist since he's like 10 years old. Twice a week, you know. He's afraid of everything. So when this pandemic hit, I figured he'd be a scaredy cat, locked himself in his room, got the 2 vaccines. When they didn't work, got a 3rd one. Now that one don't work, so I'm sure he's going to get a 4th one. This is their mentality. But he turns around and he wants everybody else to be fearful like him. And he calls people like me who are out there working every day through the pandemic and refuses to get that medicine that is just didn't even cross my mind, didn't even consider it for a second. And if you want to know why, you can look at my Rumble channel, Blue Collar Catholic at Rumble. But he calls us like idiots and that we should be locked up. I mean, this guy's ridiculous. So Coward Stern has no credibility anymore. But because he's such a coward and he knows he says offensive jokes all the time, he thinks that was horrible what Will Smith did. And he said Will Smith is Donald Trump. They're the same people. Because they painted this caricature of Donald Trump that's not true. And you can Google a correspondence dinner from like 2011 where Obama roasted Trump. And it wasn't one joke. It was several jokes. I'm on to say it lasted 5-10 minutes of just roasting Trump. And Trump sat there, took it like a man and smiled. But the media was like, oh, you could tell by the way he was smiling. He couldn't take a joke, and they compared him like Bush. When people made fun of Bush, Bush would laugh. Bush is a politician. You make fun of Obama, he'll laugh. He's a politician. Clinton, they all do it. Trump's not a politician. He stood there and smiled, but he didn't laugh, So they're not the same. They're not the same. This is why Trump didn't even go to those correspondence dinners. Remember, he would have rallies with real people like you and me because he knew these people were all fake. So no, Trump could take a joke. He's not going to slap you. And there's so much more I can say on this. It's just ridiculous. But as Catholics and as Christians, what do? The Bible says turn the other cheek. Do we have a right to defend our wives? Well, I'm so thankful because I'm Catholic. When Protestants believe every man can interpret the Bible for himself, and this is why there's like thousands and thousands of different denominations with different doctrines and beliefs. Catholic Church lays this out very clearly. Not only do we have a right to defend ourselves and others, we have a grave duty to do so. So if your wife is really being threatened, the honorable thing, you don't take it. Thomas Aquinas says you basically, and I'm paraphrasing all this, you can look it up. I'm in my truck. I don't have the catechism. I don't have Thomas Aquinas books with me. But basically, in a nutshell, you take it to the level you need to take it to. If they're offending your wife with words, you tell them to stop. If they physically assault your wife, you kick the crap out of them. If they're threatening to kill your wife, you have the right to kill them. Take it to the level. Oh, what about turn the other cheek? Well, Jesus was using something you call hyperbole. Just like he said, if your left eye causes you to sin, pluck it out. If your right arm causes you to sin, cut it off. He didn't literally mean to do that. But you have some literalists, Biblists, pacifists like the Quakers will take that literally. And they'll let their wives get killed in front of them because they don't want to commit the sin of violence. So thank God we have the Catholic Church. It's been around 2,000 years that thought through these things, that the saints of old knew the apostles, so they could tell them what they meant by what they wrote, and they passed it down through apostolic tradition. So the Catholic Church knows we have a right and a duty to defend ourselves and others, but we do it out of love, and we do it with common sense. Someone pushes you, you don't shoot them in the head. And another thing I thought about, and I'm going to end this. Comedians should be able to say whatever they want. And I heard a couple liberals saying, well, comedians don't have the right to say whatever they want. Yes, they do. This is America. We all got a right to say whatever we want. If a comedian's vulgar, I won't listen to him because I'm a Christian, but I don't want to take that right away from him. And if a comedian is offensive, I don't want to take that right away from him. That's his right. That's been the American way from the very beginning, especially in comedy places. So now comedians have to worry. I heard Chris Rock and Seinfeld say years ago, they're not even allowed on college campuses because these kids get offended about everything. 90% of their act they can't say. But now they got to worry about being in a comedy shop and people are going to come up and punch them or slap them and feel justified. I mean, This guy needs to be punished. He needs to be arrested, and he needs to be sued. He needs to be barred. You know, they barred Pete Rose forever from baseball because he bet on the game. This guy should be barred from the academy. But it won't happen because the elites have rules for thee and not for me. But I was just thinking about one comedian who happens to be a black belt in jiu-jitsu. It's an awesome freaking Muay Thai kickboxer. And just a tough dude. He's smaller than Will Smith too. This comedian's name is Joe Rogan. If Joe Rogan was cutting him up, if Will Smith had the stupidity to try and slap him, he wouldn't have slapped him. He would have been on his back with a broken arm, probably a broken jaw. You know? Or what if The Rock was making jokes? Would he have even have went up there? You see what I'm saying? All these what ifs. Instead, he picks on a guy half his freaking size, and slaps him. Will Smith is a punk who needs to repent. And my wife said, yeah, I seen him. He's talking about God and stuff. It's like, why is he talking about God? I'm like, all these people think they're Christians. You know? All these people think they're Christians. You know, the Bible says on the last day, many will come to me, Lord, Lord, and hope they depart from me. I never knew you. Pray for Will Smith that he repents, and stay Catholic.